Hello, and welcome back to Logan's Voice. I'm Doug Ballinger, Logan's dad. September is National Recovery Month, a time to lift up and celebrate the incredible stories of transformation, healing, and hope. But it's also a time to educate, to break down some myths, and to shine a light on what it really takes to sustain recovery in the long run. Recovery isn't a one size fits all. It doesn't come in a neatly wrapped box with the same set of instructions for everyone. It's as unique as each person's story, their past, and their circumstances. What worked for one might not work for someone else, and it doesn't make one path better or more real than another. But here's the part that ties it all together. While the pathways to recovery are many, the foundation underneath them all is what we call recovery capital. That's the set of resources, relationships, and supports that help people build and maintain recovery over time. Today, I want to explore the many faces of recovery and then dig into what recovery capital really means. Because when we understand that, we can stop arguing about whose path is right and start building bridges to make every path stronger. So let's start with the faces of recovery, the many ways people find their way out of addiction and into a new life. For some, it's a 12-step program, like Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. These fellowships create a structure, a sense of belonging, and a set of guiding principles that have saved millions of lives. I know many people who swear by it. The meetings, the sponsors, the steps. For others, recovery comes through medication-assisted treatment, or MAT. That might mean medications that stabilize the brain, reduce cravings, and give people the chance to focus on rebuilding their lives. And let me just stop right here and knock down the myth. Using medication is not trading one drug for another. It's treatment, just like insulin for diabetes. MAT is medicine for opioid use disorder. Some people lean heavily on their faith or spirituality. They find strength in prayer, scripture, or a faith community that embraces them. For them, recovery is rooted in the belief that a higher power is walking with them every step of the way. Others take a more holistic approach, combining therapy, mindfulness, exercise, and nutrition. I know people who rebuilt their recovery in the gym, discovering that physical strength gave them emotional strength. And then there's peer recovery support. Recovery coaches, mentors, and sober friends who walk along someone in early recovery. Sometimes the most powerful words are, "I've been where you are, and I'm still here." Here's what's important. No one pathway is superior. Recovery is personal. What matters is that it works for that individual. And yet, despite all the different faces of recovery, there are still dangerous myths out there. That recovery only counts if it's abstinence-based. That someone using medication isn't really in recovery. That relapse means failure. Let me tell you, those myths are wrong. Recovery is not about perfection. It's about progress, resilience, and community. Now, let's talk about the foundation under all those pathways, something called recovery capital. Recovery capital is all the resources a person can draw on to initiate and sustain recovery. Think of it as the building blocks of a stable life. The more blocks you have, the stronger your recovery foundation. There are four main kinds of recovery capital. First, personal capital. These are the internal resources, things like your health, coping skills, education, or even spiritual practices. Maybe it's the ability to manage emotions or the determination to set goals. Second is social capital. That is the support you get from relationships, family, friends, mentors, even coworkers. It's knowing there are people who have your back, people who celebrate your wins, and stick with you through the setbacks. And then third is community capital. This is where society comes in. Do you live in a place with affordable treatment programs, safe housing, job opportunities, and sober spaces? Or do you live in a place where stigma, poverty, and lack of resources create barriers? Community capital can make or break recovery. And fourth is cultural capital. These are the values, beliefs, and recovery friendly environments that support someone's journey. It's about whether your culture, your workplace, your school, or your community creates safe spaces for recovery, or do they pile on shame? Here's the truth: willpower alone is not enough. People don't recover because they suddenly become stronger. They recover when the capital around them gives them the support to heal, to grow, and to rebuild. So, how do these two things, the many faces of recovery and recovery capital, connect? Simple. Recovery capital makes recovery possible. Think about someone starting medication assisted treatment. The medication stabilizes them, but they also need a safe place to live, a job to pay the bills, and a support network to cheer them on. Without those things, the foundation is shaky. Or someone in a 12-step program. They might be working the steps faithfully, but if their community is full of stigma and their family doesn't support them, it's a harder climb. And then there's faith-based recovery. It thrives when churches also provide practical help, childcare, housing, or food assistance. See the pattern? The pathway may be different, but the foundation, the capital, is what sustains it. Instead of debating which method is right, we should be asking, what resources does this person need to succeed in their recovery? If you're in recovery and listening right now, hear me clearly. Your path is valid. Don't let anyone tell you it isn't. Build your capital. Lean on the resources you have and keep adding more. If you're a family member, ask yourself, how can I add to my loved one's recovery capital? Maybe it's trust. Maybe it's encouragement. Maybe it's just be willing to sit with them without judgment. If you're part of a community, consider this. When we invest in treatment centers, sober housing, job training, and stigma-free spaces, we aren't just helping individuals. We're saving families, neighborhoods, and futures. I think about my son, Logan. If there had been more recovery capital available, if stigma hadn't closed so many doors, maybe his story would have been different. That's why I share this message. Because your son, your daughter, your loved one still has a chance, and they deserve every bit of capital we can give them. As we honor National Recovery Month, let's celebrate not only the stories of recovery, but also the resources that make recovery possible. Let's end the debates over whose path is best and instead focus on how we can strengthen the foundation for every path. Share this episode with someone you love, whether they're in recovery, supporting someone in recovery, or just beginning to learn. Together, we can build recovery capital that saves lives. If this episode spoke to you, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our new website, logansvoice.org. I am Logan's voice. I am Logan's dad, and I will not be silent.